his armor and clothes on. But the armor was too big for him, as it was designed for an adult while he was still a teenager. Before the battle, Imam Hassan's Imam Hussain put Hassan's turban on Qasim alayhi salam's head. Then they hugged each other. They cried so much that they both fell unconscious. Qasim received prayers and blessing from his family and companions as he said farewell to them. Without a proper helmet or shoes, and wearing oversized armor, Qasim went into the battlefield. The people murmured that how can we kill someone whose face shines like the moon? Qasim shouted, "O people, if you don't know me, I'm the son of Hassan alayhi salam, the great grandson of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam, salawat, and the nephew of Hussain alayhi salam, whom you've surrounded and denied a sip of water." The fight started. Qasim defeats the first enemy, then the second, and then the third. After each victory, Qasim waved to Abbas alayhi salam. Abbas waved back each time. Witnessing Qasim's strength and bravery, one enemy shouted, "Surround him from every side and kill him. Let us break the heart of Hussain." They surrounded him and attacked him like wolves. Arrows hit Qasim in many parts of his body, making him fall to the ground. With the little breath he had, he called out, "Peace be upon you, O uncle, please help me." Imam Hussain rushed to help him in his final moments. He sat beside him and said, "May God curse the people who did this to you. Your father and grandfather will avenge you on the day of resurrection." Qasim passed away in the hands of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Imam Hussain carried his body back to the tent. He placed him besides Ali Akbar alayhi salam, and then lay between them. With deep sorrow and tears, he would hug and kiss Ali Akbar, and then turn and hug and kiss Qasim, mourning their loss. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. For the safety of our religion and Imam Mahdi salawat.
Let's give one more loud salawat. Allah. Now let's invite Maulana Hussain Zaidi to the member with a loud salawat. And if I could have everybody take a few steps forwards towards the member, so those who come later during the lecture have an easier time sitting. But Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Nare Takbir, Nare Risalat, Nare Haidari, for Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
فاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين سيدنا ونبينا وطبيب قلوبنا مولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد. واللعن دائم على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال إمام الحسين عليه السلام: إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وعلى الإسلام السلام، إذ قد بليت الأمة براع مثل يزيد. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. رسالة صلوات please. اللهم صل على Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil fajr. In order to hasten the reappearance of our Imam, a second even louder salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we can be amongst the most sincere and loyal companions of the Imam of our time, the Salmans, the Abu Dhars, the Fizzas of our time. A third, even louder salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farja. Dear brothers and sisters, respected elders, Adamallahu ujurana wa ujurakum. First and foremost, our condolences to the Imam of our time. There are condolences to all of you on this great tragedy of Karbala. Again, brothers, we always talk about this as each night we get closer to the 10th of Muharram, the more difficult it gets. This is how we should be feeling. Our heart, as they say, should be on fire. We also thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this opportunity to come together. What an honor it is to come to the Majlis of Abu Abdullah Hussain. What an invitation, one of the greatest of the invitations. As we say that this floor that we're sitting, this is the owner of this is no other than Lady Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha. Allahumma salli ala Amma. She's the one who invites us to her son's majalis. This is a concept that we have. We have so many narrations about this concept. There was an individual in Iran. He was one of the greatest of the reciters. He would do greatest speeches in front of thousands and thousands of people. In a day, he would go to 2 or 3 different places. One day, he narrates that I came out of a majlis and I had to go to another place. So the car was waiting for me. They're going to take me to another big gathering, where as soon as I walked out, I saw some kids. And they asked me, Haji Agha, oh Maulana, can you come recite a majlis for us? Basically, you have to understand, like in Pakistan and Iran and those places, a lot of the majalises would be walking distance, right? Like every community, every little house would have a majlis, because there's so many, mashallah, mu'mineen. So these kids, they had a mokeb outside. A mokeb is like a tent. If you guys have been to Iraq, you know. They had a mokeb and they said, oh Maulana, can you come recite a majlis for us in our mokeb? And he was thinking to himself that, no, I have to go, you know, I'm busy. There's thousands and thousands of people waiting for me. And reciting a majlis. But the kids kept insisting. So he said, okay, I can come for a few minutes. They agreed. So he says that I will go into their mokeb, a small little place, 4 or 5 of them sitting there, and I recited a few verses of poetry. And all of them put their heads down, and then literally I recited for a minute and I was done, and I was say, okay, guys, I really have to go. They said just one other thing. He said, yes, you have to take our tabarruk. He said, okay, sure. So they brought him a little chai. You know, in those like little cups that they have, they brought him a chai. He's like, this is our tabarruk. He looked at the chai and he said, when I looked at it, it was literally water with a little bit of color. I took a sip and I was like, okay. When the kids weren't looking, I kind of dumped the chai on the side and I said, thank you so much for everything, and I have to go. The kids were very happy. And he left. This is the beauty. He goes to the gathering of 1,000 people, 2,000 people. He gives the best of the majlis. Everyone is crying. Everyone is crying. And then he goes home, getting ready for tomorrow. He falls asleep. In his sleep, he sees Lady Fatima al-Zahra. And she says that only one of your majlises was accepted today. She says, the majlis that you recited for the kids, I accepted that majlis, but I have a complaint. And he said, yes, lady. Well, please tell me. She said, you didn't drink the chai which I poured for you. This is what it's about, brothers and sisters. It's about the khulus. It's not about the crowd. It's about the intention. وَنِيَّةُ الْمُؤْمِنِ أَفْضَلُ بِعَمَلِهِ. The niyyah of a moment, we always say, is better than his actual action. Our niyyah for coming here and sitting here has so many rewards. Imagine, imagine today I didn't show up. The fact that you came with the intention, you still get the same reward regardless. That's why our intentions are so important, brothers. We make an intention, it has to be pure. For the mu'mineen, an intention is better than the action. For the munafiqeen and for the kuffar, they say, وَنِيَّةُ الْكَافِرْ شَرٌّ مِّنْ عَمَلِهِ. That their niyyah is worse than their action. So when they make a bad intention, Allah will hold them accountable. So our niyyah is to do what? To come here. Absolutely, our first niyyah is to give pursa to Lady Fatima al-Zahra. Our niyyah is to give her condolences on the martyrdom of her family. Our other niyyah should be to come here and listen to the message of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And finally, not only to listen to the message, but take that message and implement it in our lives. So we can be Hussaini. So when Imam Hussain looks at us, our a'mal, he says, yes, this is my Shia. Not only did he come and commemorate my majlis, not only did he listen about my tragedies, not only did he listen about Qasim and cry, but then he took those lessons which Hazrat Qasim took. When asked, what is death to you? He said, sweeter than honey, because it's in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what it's all about. This is why we come here, to take these lessons and implement them in our life. So one day, inshallah, when we see a tragedy in our life, we remember Abu Abdullah, and we remember Lady Zainab when she was asked, what did you see? She said, مَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا. I saw nothing but beauty, because it was all Allah's plans. So if we see a tragedy in our life, we remember Imam Hussain, we remember Lady Zainab. That's one of the great lessons that we can take. When Imam Hussain alayhi salam, please. When Imam Hussain alayhi salam, when he was leaving Medina, he wrote a wasiyat name, he wrote a letter to his brother, Muhammad bin Hanafiya. He wrote this letter, and there's a few things which he mentioned in that letter. He writes, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First he praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he says, Inni lam akhruj ashiran wala batiran wala mufsidan wala zaliman. He's explaining the reason for him leaving, because he knew back then some of the people in history will say, well, it was just a war for power. So he wanted to make sure that nobody says this. So he says, Inni lam akhruj I have not risen, I am not leaving out of arrogance, vanity, corruption, or oppression. This is not why I'm leaving. He says, وَإِنَّمَا خَرَجْتُ, and the reason I am leaving, خَرَجْتُ لِطَلَبِ إِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّةِ جَدِّي, I am leaving to do the islah of my ummah, my Jad's ummah. Islah, when we talk about Islah, it means to reform. He's leaving to reform the ummah. As we've said, our title has been what? Karbala, keeping the pure Islam, saving the pure Islam, Islam Muhammadi. This is one of the reasons he's leaving. He's leaving to do Islah of his ummah. You can only do Islah of something which has gone away, and you can bring them back. They move away from the fitrah, you bring them back. So this is another lesson for us. No matter where anybody has gone, if they moved away, there's still a brother who tried to bring them back. Come back, brother. So he's doing Islah. Then he says, Uridu, how am I going to do Islah? He says, Uridu, I desire to do this thing. Uridu an amar bil ma'roof wa nahi anil munkar. I'm going to do Islah of my ummah by enjoining them to good and forbidding them from evil. This is the message of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. This is one of the reasons why he's leaving. Amr bil ma'roof wa nahi anil munkar. Of course, when you talk about Amr al-Ma'roof, it's a whole ashra. Ashra meaning 10 days you speak about Amr al-Ma'roof. And the different circumstances of Amr al-Ma'roof, how he did Amr al-Ma'roof, what are the conditions of Amr al-Ma'roof, when can you not do Amr al-Ma'roof. Literally, it's 10 days we can talk about Amr al-Ma'roof, inshallah. If we get the tawfiq, then we'll talk about Amr al-Ma'roof, 10-day nights. How we do it, how he did it, what was it. But he says, Uridu Amr al-Ma'roof wa nahi anil munkar. Why am I going to do that? Wa asira bisirati jaddi wa abi Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is to follow the seerah, the way of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Salawat. And so another way for us to come here, we're also doing Amr bil Ma'roof. We're talking about what we need to do to have the pure Muhammadi Islam. There's a few things that we've talked about. We've talked about our intention. We've talked about the fact that people in Kufa, how they left Muslim bin Aqil. This idea that we are great Muslims. We're trying to reevaluate ourselves. We're trying to recalibrate our compass to see, are we going in the right direction or we're not, or do we need a recalibration? This is what we're trying to do, all of us together, including myself. When we see the people of Kufa did not stand up for Muslim bin Aqil, however they prayed, they fasted, they gave their khums, they did zakat, they did hajj, but when the time came, they left the messenger and they left the wilayah. So we want to make sure that when we say Labbaik Ya Hussain, that translates into Labbaik Ya Mahdi. And we want to make sure that we take lessons from them so we don't make the same mistake again. This is a concept that we always talk about. Right? People say learn from your mistakes. Don't we say that? But that's not a good idea. Don't learn from your mistakes. Learn from their mistakes so you don't make that mistake. So God forbid, we're not going to learn from ourselves making a mistake. We're going to learn from our history, how they made a mistake. Like if you look at the story of Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam, the brothers, when they threw him in the well, they came out and they prayed Jama'ah. They said, it's time for prayer, we're going to pray Jama'ah Salah. You did this and then you're going to pray Jama'ah. How do you reconcile this? Then they go to their father and they ask for forgiveness. We talked about that. The father says, I shall forgive you. And he was waiting for a Thursday night, we said. So if we're doing actions which we're not supposed to be doing, the whole idea of Islam, the pure Muhammadi Islam, when you practice that Islam and when you pray, then the prayer should have an effect. Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. The salah that we're performing should keep us away from sins. This is the idea. A lot of times our idea of Islam is we're going to do all of these things. I want to ask you guys a question, okay? All the young brothers, I'm going to ask you a question. Imagine that it's a painting competition, okay? Between me and you guys, okay? We're going to have a painting competition. We're going to see who paints better, me or Ahad. Okay? So, who's a better painter between me or one of you brothers? Who's a better painter? You don't know until you see the painting. How you wouldn't know. So I go and buy my paint and my brushes from the dollar store. But Ahad, because he loves painting, he goes to Michael's. You guys know Michael's, right? The painting store where you can buy a really good paint. He buys it from there and we come together. Who's a better painter? Who's a better painter? You don't know until you paint. Until I paint and he paints, then you can judge who's a better painter. He has all the tools. I don't have the tools. He has all the greatest tools. Does that necessarily mean he's a good painter? No. Brothers, what do I mean by that? Sisters, what do I mean by that? All the amal that we have are tools. Our salah is a tool. Our zakat is a tool. Our khums is a tool. All our amals are tools. Now with these tools we need to build ourselves. This is what the people in Kufa lacked. They had the tools, but when they painted, it was something completely wrong. So we want to make sure not to have all these tools, but also the painting has to be great. And the painting for us in our conversation has been what? Iman, faith. And that's why we keep saying, and we talked about this yesterday, that Islam and Iman are two different things. When the Bedouins came to the city and they said, Amanna, and Allah said, tell them, don't say Amanna, say Aslamna. You don't have Iman, you just have Islam. Because Iman has not entered into your hearts and has not shown in your actions. This has been our conversation so far. So we always start off the Majlis with a verse, with a quote of Imam Hussain when Marwan ibn Hakam. I'm going to repeat this because this is our theme. This line of Imam Hussain alayhi salam exactly is why he got up. When Marwan ibn Hakam said, give allegiance to Yazid, Imam Hussain said, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. From Allah do I come, to Him I'll be returned. Then he says, wa ala al-islami salamu, and wave goodbye to Islam. Because when Yazid comes in power, there will be no Islam. There will be no pure Muhammadi Islam. So then we talked about two types of Islam. We said that we have this Islam Hakiki and Islam Zahiri. We said the Islam Hakiki and Zahiri, what's the difference? The Zahiri is important because that's all our ahkam. That's all the things that we see. That's important. You have to pray. You can't just say, I'm going to be saved by Imam Hussain and I don't pray. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. It's like I'm going to drive this car without the key. Well, that might be a bad old example. I'm showing my age. Because now you can drive cars with your cell phone. Right? It's like I'm going to make a call to somebody but you don't have a phone. No, No, it doesn't work like that. So this is Islam Zahir. Islam Hakiki is the one where you have the phone where you can make a call. Islam Hakiki is the one where there's Iman and there's Amal to go with that. So this is kind of what we've been talking about. Now just to shift gears a little bit, what is the mission of Rasulullah? What is the mission of the Prophets? I'm going to take a sip of water. I want you guys to think about this, okay? And recite a salawat. What is the mission of the Prophets? What was the mission of Rasulullah? To guide us, yes. Was his mission to guide us to Islam Hakiki or Islam Zahiri? Was his mission to guide us to this pure Islam, or just actions, or just intentions? Was it to guide us to a show? No, it was the real Islam. That was the mission of the Prophets. They came, think about it, how many struggles did they go through? Especially Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They tried to kill him. They exiled him. They ended up exiling. Through that exile, the Muslims were so poor that 3 people would share a date. All these difficulties for what? Then over there, Hazrat Abu Talib passed away. Hazrat Khatija passed away. That was the year they called it the year of mourning. Then even when they came back, then they had to leave. They went to Medina. The hypocrites in Medina gave him a hard time. To the extent that on his deathbed, when he asked for a pen, he said, "Give me a pen, I will write down so you will never go astray." They said, "Na'udhu billah," they said, "He's gone. He's got out of his senses. Let's leave him alone." And they started yelling at each other. Rasulullah said, "Leave all of these difficulties for what? Just to show us Islam and Muhammadi." This is the idea of the Prophet. And this is the same idea that our Aimma had. The same idea that Imam Hussain alayhi salam had. All the difficulties that he went through. Going all the journey from Medina to Makkah towards Kufa, then getting redirected towards Karbala, spending nights there, no water, no food. And then giving up people like Qasim. Giving up people like Ali Akbar, Khalkan wa Khulkan, Misla Rasulullah. All of this for what? To guide us. To show us that, brothers, just attending the Majlis in itself is not important. It's extremely important, but that in itself doesn't suffice. We have to actually change our actions. We have to go from Islam to Iman. And those actions need to be actions which are thought through, not just any action. Action which the community needs. Walaikum assalam. Say a salawat, please. The mission of Rasulullah, the mission of Imam Hussain alayhi salam wasn't just for the Muslims. Right? We said Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he was for humanity. It's not just for us. Whenever anybody hears the word of Imam Hussain, the message of Imam Hussain, it hits there what we call fitrah. Again, we talked about going away from your innate self and coming back to it. The fitrah, that was the message of Imam Hussain. That's why it resonates with everyone. Whenever anybody hears the message of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, they say labbaik. They might not say it like us. They might not even voice it, but their fitrah inside says labbaik. Right? What is fitrah? This innate thing that we have. It's pure. When we're born, every single person that they're born with this Islam. They're born with a pure soul, pure fitrah. But it's through our actions and through other things, society, that it gets corrupted. So what we're trying to do is go back to our fitrah, through the message of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. We're trying to understand, why did Imam Hussain say, As-salamu salam? Why did he say goodbye? What can we do to make sure that when our Imam comes, he doesn't say, As-salamu salam? He doesn't say these mu'mineen aren't ready for us. Recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala. This concept we have in the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about it. He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, فَأَقِمْ وَجْحَكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا فِطْرَةَ اللَّهِ الَّتِي فَطَرَ النَّاسَ عَلَيْهَا. So turn your face towards this religion with full inclination towards the truth. فَأَقِمْ وَجْحَكَ لِلدِّينِ. This deen, we talked about the deen yesterday. What is the deen? Deen is nothing but Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, He says, your deen is Islam. And we talked about that deen means that not only what we understand of Islam, but what everybody says. So for example, all the way from Adam to Rasulullah, it's all Islam. Because he says deen, he doesn't say adyan. And we said that Islam means submission, submitting yourself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here he says, فَأَقِمْ وَجْهِكَ لِلدِّينِ حَنِيفًا. Turn your face towards the religion with full inclination towards the truth, with the same nature upon which God has created people. So see, God created everybody pure. God created everybody with this pure fitrah. And it's us with that, because of our actions we go away from it. Imam Hussain says, come back. I'm giving my life. I'm giving Ali Asghar's life so you can come back. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He continues, لا تبديل لخلق الله. There is no alteration in Allah's creation. ذلك الدين القيم. This is the upright religion. And then he continues, وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But most of the people do not know. Whenever we listen to the Quran, we listen to verses like this that most of the people don't know, we need to look in the mirror. Because when we read the Quran, it's like Allah is talking to us. So when we say صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, it's like talking to us. Stay on the straight path. Don't be like the previous people that went astray. Don't be like the people of Kufa who went astray. And then our responsibility is to analyze it through Karbala and to see what can we do so we don't end up like that. The first thing is we need to actually reflect. Right? What do they say? 1 minute of reflection is better than 60 years of ibadah. 1 minute of reflection. So our goal when we come here, we reflect. Oh Hussain, what am I doing with my life? If the Imam was to come today, would he be happy with me? If the Imam was to come today and I gave him my cell phone and he went through all the things that I go through, would he be happy with me? Or would he say, what are you doing? What are you watching? This is the questions we need to ask. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And again, the Imams, their duty was to take us to Islam Hakiki. Take us not only towards Islam, but take us towards Iman. If this is the first night you're joining us, then we talked a lot about the difference between Islam and Iman. We have so many narrations that says, if you have Islam, doesn't mean you have Iman. However, on the other hand, if you have Iman, faith, then you have Islam. It's not the same thing. If somebody says that I'm a Mu'min, but their actions don't show it, we live in a society that we say, whatever he's doing, it's up to him. It doesn't affect us. He's doing good actions, he's a good person. No. It's not only about Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, Ashhadu anna Aliyan Waliullah. Yes, that is important. Do you think when Imam Hussain didn't give allegiance to Yazid, he was afraid that people would stop saying Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah? No. Even when Yazid was a man with the robe, a man with a turban, a man that, yes, openly committed sins, but he prayed. He led Salah. We have stories of when he led the Salah Jum'ah on another day. So that shows that he was leading something. He was still saying Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. So the reason Imam Hussain came wasn't just because of this. It was something a lot more. And the key is, what is that a lot more? It is Amr al-Ma'roof. It's our society's issues, our community's issue, Haqq versus Batil. The time of Yazid from then to the time of Yazid from now. Imam Hussein's message when he says somebody like me will never give allegiance to somebody like him. He doesn't say Hussein won't give allegiance to Yazid. He said somebody like me won't give allegiance to somebody like him. This is why we commemorate Karbala. So we take lessons. The Aimma have said, and there's so many other sayings that brothers and sisters, Karbala, we don't make Karbala, Karbala makes us. We don't, Imam Hussain doesn't need us to do this, we need him. If we don't do it, somebody else will do it. So we want to make sure we are that individual that the Imam looks at and he says, yes, this is my Shia. Not just because of his salah, not because he prays all day, because he cares about the people. He knows his community, he knows who are the people struggling, and he lends his hand and he says, come, together we will work on this. The highest goal of Imam Hussein's uprising was to uphold the Islam in Nab, the true religion. That's what his goal was. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So brothers, I mentioned yesterday that we're trying to take lessons from Kufa. And every time I bring a conversation, the first conversation that we talked about was the individual who was coming back from Siffin with Imam Ali alayhi salam. He says that I saw Imam Ali get down from his horse, I saw him pick up sand, I saw him smell it, and he said that my Shias will be resurrected with this. There will be blood spilled here. When they asked whose blood, they said my son Hussein's. This same individual, he goes to his wife and he says this is what happens, and she says Ali ma'al haqq wa haqq ma'a Ali. Ali is telling the truth because she was a Shia, she had Iman. That same individual saw Imam Hussain on the day of Karbala, on the day of Ashura, and he goes up to Imam Hussain alayhi salam and he said, I heard your father narrate that you're going to be unjustly killed over here. Imam Hussain said, are you with me or are you against me? He said, Imam, I'm not with you and I'm not against you. And the reason we said was because of Hubb al-Dunya. He said, Imam, I have children. I'm afraid for them. You remember that story? So let me narrate another story between a conversation between Imam Hussain and another individual after salawat. This is a conversation between Imam Hussain and Umar ibn Sa'd. Umar ibn Sa'd was the same individual we said when Muslim bin Aqil was about to be murdered, he gave his will to Umar ibn Sa'd. He gave his will to Umar ibn Sa'd. So Imam Hussain alayhi salam, he sees Umar ibn Sa'd over there on the other side, and he requests to talk to him. So he takes 20 of his soldiers, Umar ibn Sa'd brings 20 of them, and they meet at a point. Imam Hussain says, let me just talk to you. Send everyone back. Let's move away from the tents. So they say that Umar ibn Sa'd, he took his son and his slave. Imam Hussain alayhi salam took Hazrat Abbas and another individual. And 3 of them met somewhere else, so the people couldn't hear. And they said, Imam Hussain asked him, Umar ibn Sa'd, what are you doing? Don't you know who I am? You know very well who I am. You know very well that I'm the same person that Rasulullah would kiss my neck and say unjustly he will be slaughtered. I'm the person that I would sit on Rasulullah. You know love Rasulullah had for me. He said, yes, I know. He said, then why are you doing this? Why are you involved in this, Umar ibn Sa'd? Umar ibn Sa'd gave an excuse, same excuse. He said, I have children and I'm afraid for them. Imam Hussain says, they will be protected. He says, I have a house, they will destroy it. Imam Hussain says, I will rebuild it. He says, they've promised me gold and land, the land of Ray. He said, I will give you something even better. For every excuse that Umar ibn Sa'd brought, Imam Hussain said, I'll do better. What was he trying to do? Ittamam hujjah. That's what the Imam has done to us. That's what Ashura has done to us. Karbala has told us what is the truth and what is batil. It's for us to decide now which camp are we on. It's for us to decide, are we only going to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah, Ashhadu anna Aliyan Waliullah, and stop there? Or are we going to take that to the next level? What is the next level? Our actions need to show that. Our actions need to show that. We need to detach ourselves with the dunya. But don't get me wrong, when somebody, there's a narration, when somebody does la'an on the dunya does la'an on them. When you curse the dunya curses you. It's because through this dunya do you have to go. You have to live here. That's the reality. We're not going to just live in our little corner. That's not what Islam teaches us. He says, no, live with the people, pray with the people, eat with the people. But it also says, help the people. It also says, respect your parents. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. When your parents tell you something, don't just dismiss them. And when they reach old age, don't even say, oof, this is Islam. The religion of the fitrah. And this is what Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam understood, that a lot of people don't understand. Brothers and sisters, we're approaching Ashura. We have only a few nights left. Imam Hussain has said, who's there to help me? We're saying labbaik, not only with our voices, but with our hearts. We come here to give pursa to Lady Fatima Zahra. We say, oh Fatima, we've come here. We cry for Hussain. When those tears come down, Fatima, I'm going to make a dua. I'm going to say, oh Fatima, give me aqibat bi khair. Make my last breath be a breath where I say, labbaik ya Hussain. اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستعوضع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به علمك. Peace and blessings be upon you, Imam al-Hussain. Peace and blessings be upon you, O Madloom Imam. Peace and blessings be upon you, Imam, who was slaughtered on the shores of Karbala, on the shores of the river when his mouth was dry of thirst. Brothers and sisters, it's the night of Ashura. All the people are praying and reciting Quran. Imam Hussain alayhi salam brings all the people and he starts reciting the names. He says, O Ali Akbar, you'll be shaheed. Abbas, you'll be shaheed. Jan, you'll be shaheed. He keeps reciting all the names. But there's a 13, 12-year-old boy standing in the corner. He's waiting for his name to be called. This boy was no other than Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam. When the list was done, Hazrat Qasim got worried. He didn't hear his name. He goes up to Imam Hussain alayhi salam. He said, Oh Ammu, you didn't recite my name. Am I not going to be shaheed tomorrow? Please give me an opportunity to fight and become shaheed. Can you imagine Imam Hussain alayhi salam at this point? He says, Qasim, you remind me of Hassan. Oh Qasim, you're an amana from Hassan. Qasim, I can't send you. I can't send you. Qasim insisted. Imam Hussain says, Oh Qasim, how do you see death? He says, sweeter than honey. They say at this point, Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam and Imam Hussain hugged each other and they kept crying and kept crying. Qasim kept kissing Imam Hussein's hand, but still he didn't give him permission. You know, when Ali Akbar came, Imam Hussain said, go, Abbas, go, on Muhammad, go, Hur, go. But with Qasim, he couldn't say it. He just let go of his hug. He let go of him as if to say, Qasim, I'm not razi with this. Qasim, you remind me too much of Hassan. Qasim goes into the battlefield. Ravi says that when I looked at this boy, it was like a moon. His face was shining. But he was so small. We noticed that the armor didn't even fit him. We noticed that the sandal wasn't even on his foot. He went into the battlefield. They say he fought bravely, but soon he got struck. He fell. He said, Hussain. Imam Hussain came like a hawk to Qasim. He took his head. He put it on his lap. He wiped the blood. Ravi says, when I looked at this, we could see Qasim kicking his legs because he was in so much pain. He said, Qasim, just wait. You're going to be reunited with Rasulullah. You're going to be... He takes Qasim's body back. But I want to say, Imam al-Hussain, when you fall from that horse, who's going to come for you? Only the Mal'oon's going to come. He's going to sit on your chest. He's going to grab your beard. He's going to take that dagger. He's going to... Matam Hussain.
Hussain, Ya Hussain, Ya Hussain.
मेरे घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा मेरे घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा मेरे घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा मेरे घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा आबिद बचावा आग बुझावा आबिद बचावा आग बुझावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा मेरे घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा मेरे घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा मेरे घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा यूसुफ तो सोने मेरे वीर मारे मैं शाम चलिया मैं कफने सारे यूसुफ तो सोने मेरे वीर मारे मैं शाम चलिया मैं कफने सारे कबड़ा बनावा या रसिया पावा कबड़ा बनावा या रसिया पावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा मेरे घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा आबिद बचावा आग बुझावा आबिद बचावा आग बुझावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा मेरे घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा यूसुफ तो सोने मेरे वीर मारे मैं शाम चलिया मैं कफने सारे यूसुफ तो सोने मेरे वीर मारे मैं शाम चलिया मैं कफने सारे कबड़ा बनावा या रसिया पावा कबड़ा बनावा या रसिया पावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा मेरे घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा घर जलाया मेरे घर जलाया लुटियां रे दावा मेरी बचावण विच शाम आई सब लोग वेखण मेरी बेरदाई मेरी बचावण विच शाम आई सब लोग वेखण मेरी बेरदाई खुतबे सुनावा या मुलुकावा खुतबे सुनावा या मुलुकावा रो आके ज़ैनब किस पास जावा
Assalamu alaikum ya Rasulullah. Assalamu alaikum Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum Ali ibn Abi Talib ya Amir al-Mu'minin. Assalamu alaikum ya Fatima al-Zahra sayyidat nisa al-alamin. Assalamu alaikum ya Hassan ibn Ali al-Mujtaba.
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعل الله الآخر الأحد مني لزيارتكم. All together. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا حجة ابن الحسن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك مظهر الإيمان، السلام عليك إمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك، واجعلنا من أنصارك وأعوانك والمستشهدين بين يديك. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت الجميع ورحمة الله وبركاته.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وأجل فرجهم. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم صل على محمد. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله عليه السلام، أشهد أن عليا حجة الله عليه السلام. اللهم صل على محمد. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح، حي على خير الأمل، حي على خير الأمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله، لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم.
أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه، أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله، أشهد أن محمد رسول الله، أشهد أن محمد رسول الله، أشهد أن عليا ولي الله، أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، حي على الفلاح، حي على خير العمل، حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه، أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين،